web also. So besides, I do that for the website also.
Do you go out in the evenings?
Sorry?
Do you go out? You said you socialize.
Yeah, my social life has not been affected at all. I just coming on the beach.
You like wearing t-shirts?
Yes.
You know, I would say that you should have your own.
Mostly of feathers.
I would say, I would suggest, Asad, if you have t-shirts where you write what you want to say. For instance, you say you don't like people having pity on you. If you have a t-shirt and you say, don't look at me, look at my goals, something like that. So the message will go across a lot quicker when you're, going down a driveway or parked out or whatever. So it will be, then people can immediately relate to, what you're trying to tell them. And you can have several things that, so what if I'm in a wheelchair? At least I'm looking up to you and you're looking down at me. Stuff like that.
Very good idea.
I would like to say that I thoroughly enjoyed hearing you speak on different topics relating to motivation. One key takeaway would be that there are always two ways of looking at it: glass half full or a glass half empty. So you need to look at the brighter side of things as well. And a very good point made by you was when you referred to someone, Mr. Mitchell, I guess, where you said that what you're doing about things is more important than what is happening to you, because mostly what we are doing is we are reacting to things rather than proactively, doing something. So perhaps that will be the second thing which was a meaningful learning for today.
Well, I think that in the society, especially in a nation where we're bereft of heroes and role models, I think that you are one of our role models, and we need to look up to people like you. And thank you for being a role model for us to look up at and try and emulate in certain ways. And I'd like to also ask you, because we've got a school called Dawood Public School. We've got a school for girls, and I'd like to invite you to come and speak there, so you can be a role model for years, for girls and our teachers. I think it's important that other people see you as a role model that you are, and
I give talks over here.
So I'd like to invite you to come to our school as well, and perhaps speak to the students as well as the teachers. Because it's important to learn these lessons and you have to talk to people who one can really, really learn from. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to say a few words. I think it's been a remarkable experience listening to us today. But what do we take away? That's the important thing. He didn't want to just come along and give a talk and have all of us listen to it. He wants to know that he's giving you something that you can take away, you can cherish, you can use, you can take advantage of. Am I right? Okay. What's the first thing we learn from him? The first thing we learn from him is that as a young person, he suddenly had this terrible disease which physically impaired him. And you can imagine that tender age, what do you think he was going through? What's the first thing he did? The first thing he did was he had the capacity to be able to accept the new reality. Now all of us are going to go through this. Every one of us are going to go through experiences and difficulties in our lives where you're going to have to really suffer. For example, a loss of a child, anything so traumatic. You've got to accept the fact that it's happened. And then you've got to look forward and move on. Here's an outstanding example.
It's encouragement to so many of us.
The second, so if you can remember that, it will help you to overcome those very challenging moments in your life. The younger ones don't know this because they're still young. The older ones obviously have gone through some of these. But it's how you respond to those experiences that matter. And what happens is that if you don't respond positively, then that experience becomes a burden. And when it becomes a burden, then it starts to sap your energy. It starts to sap your self-confidence. It starts to sap everything positive about you. So what do we learn first? Accept the change. Whatever that change will be. Can we do that over? Okay? Please remember this. Have the courage to accept the change. That's the first important thing. The second most important thing after that is that now that you've accepted it, you find that your mind is clear of that challenge and you can start to look forward. That's very important to get with that mindset. Now, we have there an example of a person who is physically impaired. How many of us here are mentally impaired? You may look physically alright, everything's going fine, but how many of us carry mental impairment inside the mind? This gentleman doesn't. So in that sense, he's one up on us. So that's the second thing to learn. Sit down and start to think, what are those things which are pulling me down? Which are my mental impairments. He has proven to us that even being physically impaired, it does not in any way restrict him from enjoying life. Our mental impairments restrict us from enjoying our lives. And we need to identify for ourselves. Why? Because you know, you are communicating that to your family. You're communicating those impairments to your children. And as a consequence, you are affecting their lives negatively. So it's important that you are able to address them. I call this the process of reinvention. The capacity to reinvent yourself. The capacity to constantly accept an attitude of change. Listen to what you've heard today. Somebody asked him, what are your motivation besides the one that you've got right now about making Pakistan wheelchair friendly? He says, I want to have hope. He says, I want to be better. Look at the challenges he's setting.